A young man stands in front of a homestead gate. Behind him, his uncles, his father, men he has known his entire life. In his hands, he is not holding flowers. He is holding the price of his future wife. It is not money in an envelope. It is cattle, 11 of them, standing in a cloud of dust behind him. His entire family's savings, walking on 4 legs. Inside the gate, the bride's family is waiting. They will not say yes immediately. For the next several hours, 2 families will argue, laugh, negotiate, and test each other. Not about love, about worth. This happens today, not centuries ago. Today, in Johannesburg apartments and Lagos compounds and Nairobi suburbs, engineers, doctors, university graduates, still doing this. Critics call it the buying of a wife. Families call it the deepest respect one family can show another. So which one is it? And why, after everything, after colonialism and Christianity and city life and decades of telling Africans this tradition was primitive, does it refuse to die? To understand that, you have to go back long before money, long before any of this had a name written in any book. Across the African continent, this practice goes by many names. Lobola among the Zulu and Xhosa of southern Africa, Rura among the Shona of Zimbabwe, Mahari along the Swahili coast of East Africa. Different words, different languages, the same underlying idea repeated across thousands of miles and hundreds of ethnic groups. A man does not simply marry a woman. He marries her family, and that family must be compensated for what they are losing. To understand why, you have to understand the economy that built this tradition. In agricultural societies across Africa, a daughter was labor. She fetched water, she tended crops, she cared for younger siblings, she built the wealth of her birth family every single day she lived under their roof. When she married, all of that labor walked out the door with her. So the groom's family paid it back. Not in love, in livestock. Cattle, goats, and grain were the original currency of marriage across most of the continent. Among the Zulu, the standard was set in cows, 10 of them traditionally, sometimes more depending on the bride's standing. This was not a purchase. It was a transfer of obligation. The cattle the bride's family received could be used to secure a bride for her own brother one day. The wealth kept moving, family to family, generation to generation, a cycle, not a transaction. But cattle were never the whole story. The negotiation itself carried weight. In Zulu and Xhosa tradition, Lobola negotiations can stretch across an entire day. Uncles speak for the groom, aunts speak for the bride. There is performance in it, theater. Each side haggles hard even when both already know roughly where the number will land. Because the negotiation itself is the point. It is the 2 families publicly declaring in front of witnesses that this union matters enough to fight for. A marriage with no negotiation in many of these cultures is a marriage with no weight behind it. There is a second meaning that runs even deeper. In many communities, Lobola does more than honor the bride's family. It binds 2 families together as allies. Historically, this meant protection, support in times of conflict, a network of obligation that stretched far beyond the couple themselves. If your daughter married into a family, that family was now bound to you. In a world without banks, without insurance, without government safety nets, this mattered enormously. Marriage was not romance plus paperwork. Marriage was infrastructure. Today, the cattle have mostly become cash. The amounts can be enormous. In parts of South Africa, the equivalent of $10,000 or more is not unusual. And this is where the tradition has started to crack under its own weight. Grooms going into debt to afford it, marriages delayed for years while a man saves enough. Some couples choosing to simply live together unmarried because the formal process has become unaffordable. Critics, including scholars writing in academic journals on gender and development, have raised a harder question. Does placing a price on a bride encourage husbands to treat her as property? There are documented cases of men justifying mistreatment of their wives by pointing to what they paid. I bought my cows, she is mine now. That sentence, recorded in research and in journalism across multiple African countries, is the dark edge of a tradition that was never supposed to mean ownership. And yet, for every critic, there are millions who still choose this path freely. Modern, educated, successful African women who insist on Lobola being paid for their own marriages, not because they feel like property, because they feel like their family's labor, love, and sacrifice in raising them deserves to be acknowledged out loud in public by the family receiving that gift. To skip the tradition, for many, would feel like skipping a chapter of their own story. So which is it? Exploitation or honor? The uncomfortable answer is that it has been both, depending on the family, the era, and the heart of the man standing at that gate. A tradition built on respect can be twisted into a tool of control, and a tradition criticized as backward can still be, for the people inside it, the most meaningful moment of their entire wedding. This is what makes African bride price so difficult to simply judge from the outside. It was never one thing. It carries within it generosity and obligation, honor and pressure, connection and sometimes control. That young man standing at the gate with 11 cattle behind him is not just paying for a wife. He is stepping into a system passed down through hundreds of generations, a system his ancestors built to answer a question every society on Earth has had to answer somehow. What does a family owe another family when two lives become one? Africa's answer was never written down in a single book. It was negotiated, out loud, at gates like this one, generation after generation, and in many homes across the continent it still is,